Hello and welcome. Thanks very much for joining us on this special Guinness Pro 14 big interview with Edinburgh Head Coach Richard Cockerill. Cockers, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Not to fall out with the kids too much, you know the score.
That's pretty difficult. I know you like me. You got teenage sons. It's very difficult to not argue, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's certainly developing my patience, mate. So that's one good thing. But yeah, no, I've got two daughters of 14 and 13 who are virtual schooling, and my son should have been revising for exams, but they've all been cancelled from this, the current situation. So yeah, he's being as lazy as he can be at the moment.
Do you? I get this a lot, even though I'm not coaching now. I get this a lot. That at times they say to me, "Dad, you being the rugby coach at home." Do you get that?
Well, a little bit, because I'm used to being at work, and when I tell people to do something, they generally do it. And I've got my wife and three kids just looking at me and going, "Yeah, whatever," and they just carry on with their daily lives, and I just just go back to my computer and watch something and try and get on my bike and do a bit of exercise and just catch up with the players as and when I can, and the staff, and just like everybody, just sort of uncharted territory for us all, really.
Yeah, it's difficult, unprecedented times, but as coaches, people who are listening and watching, we're pretty institutionalized. So to have this period, it's very difficult for somebody like you who's been ingrained in it probably nearly all your life. And it's interesting, I was going to ask you about keeping in touch with the players. Is there a fine line, Cockers, with how often you tap into them, or are they craving your contact?
I've probably go down the line of leaving them alone a little bit, because we don't know how the season's going to pan out or when it's going to start. This season, next season. So, the reality is this might be our holiday time. This might be our summer holiday, because we might be playing in July and August, and then we're into a new season in September, depending on what goes on. So I've probably left them to their own devices. They've, like everybody, we've dropped some kit off as best we can so they can keep ticking over training wise. But yeah, I'll probably encourage them to get away from rugby, spend some time with their, all of us spending more time with their families and doing things that we having conversations we probably haven't had for a long time. And the single boys with their girlfriends and guys that are married with their, with no kids, are just sort of, just relax and just take that time, try and get your body fresh and mentally fresh, and just sort of enjoy it. Same with the coaches, lots of coaches have, we need to be doing something, let's be busy. Well, there's a little bit to be getting on with, but let's just sort of take a deep breath and, if there are any positives out of this current situation, just take a little bit of time to just de-stress and just get the brain matter just relaxed a little bit, rather than trying to find something to do when really there isn't anything to do particularly, is there?
Yeah, no, I've been doing jigsaws. So there you go. That tells you something. But the positives, you got to look at the positives, are that all of the players, all of the clubs, regions, provinces are going to be chomping at the bit. They're going to be raring to go. Their bodies and minds will be refreshed. So you're going to get responsive animals, and you've had a good season. Tell us a little bit, Cockers, about your coaching philosophy. Let's dig under the skin a little bit about, you've come from Leicester and the mentality there. What is the underlying philosophy of Richard Cockerill?
I always, especially as a younger coach, sort of got a little bit confused on what's your philosophy about how you play, because I sort of I want to play always, really. I always want to have a tough forward pack, because I think regardless, all good teams have a forward pack that can compete and be physical and fight and stay in the battle. So I always want to be able to scrum and line out and brawl and go to the trenches and battle it out. But certainly since I've come here, having to develop this team and develop the game, certainly probably my views opened a little bit around playing and not just being able to beat teams up, being able to play to the width and use the strength that you have. And the game's changing all the time, isn't it? It's all about counter-attack and unstructured play, and making sure that you can compete doing that. So it's my philosophy. I want a team that works hard. I want good people. I want them to work hard. I want them to enjoy it. And one of the things here is, when I came, the team enjoyed themselves, but it wasn't the sort of enjoyment that probably elite sport is necessary for elite sport. So now we enjoy ourselves by working really hard and trying to win games and getting the reward from performing and doing what we're doing. And I think we're doing that at the moment.
Yeah, it was pretty well documented when he first arrived. The Edinburgh team, they're in a lovely city. They probably enjoyed themselves. And you come from a background, so many years at Leicester with a particular mentality, a particular type of play and player, and winning lots of games, lots of trophies. So how has that transition been? I mean, I experienced it at Bristol. You have successful period, and then you go to a club that isn't used to winning. You know what it takes. You know what it feels like. How would you instill that then into a group of players that isn't used to that success?
Yeah, I mean, first, obviously the first year it was just about getting good systems in place. We got good staff, good conditioners, good coaches. We sorted a lot out behind the scenes around the fundamentals of what the club looked like, and then just hard work, good systems, work hard. Just driving to the players that consistency of effort around training every day, working hard every day, and if you work hard, prepare well, you give yourself the best opportunity to win on game day. So it's taken a little while, but the boys, to be fair to them, the ones that are now with us are all good men. They work really hard, and they're starting to understand that being in playoffs or being competitive is actually really enjoyable. It's good fun. It's very rewarding, and so it's taken a bit of time. We've still got a little way to go. We're competitive, but now we want to try and in the next few years push on and realistically compete for silverware against the big teams in the competition.
Yeah, that's I always find the funny thing that people this season they said, "Oh, Edinburgh are going well." It's like it's happened overnight, but that success and that consistency takes a lot of grounding, a lot of time, and we're seeing a huge improvement in the Scottish players and your squad players, if you like, but. It must be great that you've picked out, singled out good overseas. And we've just recently on Guinness Pro 14 looked at some of the top 10 performers so far this season. There's 3 players in there from Edinburgh: Bill Matter, Duan van der Merwe, and Piers Schoeman. What's it like working with those 3? It's crucial to have good non-Scottish players in the squad, isn't it?
Yeah, they're good guys. They make a difference to us, and I think it's really important as and when you bring foreign players into this environment, they make a difference. And you'd have seen it, with the Ospreys and with the Welsh supporters and the Scottish supporters are the same. They want local boys that have come through the system for obvious reasons. So when you bring those guys in, they have to make a difference, and they have to be in the team, and people understand why you've brought them in. Look, I'll happily pick. I'd have a squad of 45 Scotsmen, but the reality is that we lose a lot of guys to test matches. And look, if you want to raise the standard and you want people to learn from other players and see what it looks like, guys like Schoeman, in particular, his work ethic and his effort every day is as good as I've seen in any player in any squad. So Duan's got pace to die for, and Big Bill, well, he's got magic, hasn't he, when he carries the ball and those offloads, and those things make a difference. And in big games, as we've seen, that those guys at key moments give you that little bit of difference, that little bit of X factor, or that little bit of Schoeman, maybe not X factor, but he gives you toughness on the ball, good ball carry, good energy, and sometimes you need guys that other teams are a little bit scared of, whether it's physically or when they have the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the top 10, I think Schoeman was the only front row forward. The rest were, apart from Duan, the rest were all back rowers, which tells you something about the modern game. What about the modern player, Cockers? I mean, go back to some of the, when you were a player, how things have changed. I used to find that a little bit frustrating, the modern young man. But what would a Bill Matter compared to a Dean Richards be like? What would a Van der Merwe to a Geordie Murphy, and how would a Piers Schoeman compared to Darren Garforth?
Yeah, I think it's slightly different. A slightly different world. I mean, look, and comparable in their times. They're all very similar. Geordie Murphy was a wonderful player, great X factor, great skill, very laid back. Dean Richards was Dean Richards. He was he was a brawler and a mauler, and he was as happy with a pint in his hand as he was on the training field. So and Garforth, well, look, actually Garforth and Schoonman probably quite similar in personalities. Worked hard, always got a smile on their faces, and they enjoyed what they do, and that's why Scooey is a popular member of our squad, and Mr. Garforth was a very popular member of the Leicester team at that time.
How would Richard Cockerill, the player, fare as Richard Cockerill, the player nowadays?
Oh, I don't think I'll be good enough.
Come on.
I mean, I think it's just when you watch, there's been a few old games on, and you watch it, and you just go, crikey, it's just a different game, isn't it? It's just, and it's 15 years ago or so. So, look, I mean, my main qualities is that in the jigsaw that was the Leicester team at that time, I was the right fit. I probably wasn't the most talented player, but I was a player that was certainly very committed and was a pain in the backside to play against. And I suppose when you look at the teams I coach, they work hard and they're a pain in the backside to play against. So there's a little bit shows in my teams from my personality, I suppose.